American History X remains one of the most unforgettable movies of all time. It wasn't just another crime drama. The movie told a profound and disturbing story about American culture, a movie that left its audience in tears thanks to its unforgettable performances and a bold, haunting message about hate, pain, and redemption. But how well do you know this movie? Why did the director eventually disown it? Join us as we unveil 20 weird facts that will completely change how you see American History X. Body number 20, Derek Vineyard, was based on a real white supremacist, neo-Nazi skinhead. The powerful story of American History X centered around Derek Vineyard, a former neo-Nazi gang leader who was released from prison after serving 3 years for killing 2 African-American men. Derek Vineyard's story draws from the life of former white supremacist skinhead Frank Meeink. Frank was one of America's youngest and most dangerous white supremacists, who led the ultra-violent underground Nazi gang known as Strike Force. He was later convicted at age 17 for the aggravated kidnapping and torture of an Antifa member. Like Derek, he served 3 years in prison. However, while in prison, Frank's life began to shift. He met with people from different ethnic backgrounds, including black inmates, the same people he had once been taught to hate, but being around them challenged everything he believed. Eventually, he formed close friendships with 2 black inmates, and his racist views started breaking down. He came to see that everything he had believed was based on lies, fear, and hate that had been instilled in him since childhood. Just like Derek in the film, Frank walked away from hate. After his release, he changed his life. He left the white supremacist movement, found honest work, and dedicated himself to helping others avoid the same path. Number 19. Trouble finding a director. In the mid-1990s, after screenwriter David McKenna sold the American History X script to New Line Cinema, producer John Morrissey was utterly stunned by the story. It was a gripping story with layered characters, emotional tension, and dialogue that felt brutally honest and alive. Michael DeLuca, who was president of production at New Line at the time, called the script a powerful piece with massive potential. But it wasn't the kind of script that just anyone could direct. They needed someone bold, experienced, and sensitive enough to correctly bring the story to life. In 1996, New Line Cinema approached Dennis Hopper, a well-known actor and director known for directing and starring in the landmark movie. However, things didn't go as planned, as he asked for a $1 million fee, which the studio refused. The studio had to find someone else. Next came Larry Clark, the director of Kids, another controversial but critically praised film. Larry was interested in the project but couldn't commit due to other filming obligations. So now the big question was, who else could they turn to? After being turned down several times, the producers eventually approached Tony Kaye, a British director known only for commercials and music videos. It was a strange choice. Could someone with no feature film experience handle such a raw, heavy story? Keep watching to find out. Number 18. The director had never directed a feature film before. Tony Kaye, who eventually took on the director role, had never made a full-length movie before. He was widely known for his bold and edgy work in commercials and music videos. One of his most talked-about pieces was the music video for Soul Asylum's Runaway Train, a haunting clip that spotlighted real-life missing children. Despite this limited background, New Line gave Kaye the opportunity. Michael DeLuca believed in Kaye's raw style and thought he was the best choice for the job. Once everything was finalized, Kaye did something strange and deeply personal. Instead of signing the contract in an office, he took it to a synagogue and signed it before a rabbi. Later, he said he believed signing it in a holy place would bring spiritual strength and success to the project. This was likely a fear or a ritual to calm his nerves, as Kaye knew the task ahead was daunting. This was his first feature film, and the pressure was massive. The director's unusual act might have seemed odd to some, but in hindsight, it became part of the movie's mysterious history. Number 17. Joaquin Phoenix was the first choice for lead actor. Joaquin Phoenix was one of the rising stars in Hollywood in the late 90s. His role in To Die For, where he played the troubled and impressionable teenager Jimmy Emmett, placed him in the Hollywood spotlight. He was seen as the next big star in Hollywood, and many even called him the next Daniel Day-Lewis. The producers of American History X reached out to Joaquin to play the lead role of Derek Vineyard. However, after going through the script, Phoenix turned it down. He said he couldn't play the role because he wasn't comfortable with the subject matter, which was centered around racism and neo-Nazi violence. This came as a surprise to the producers. Joaquin was known to take on bold, complex, and emotionally demanding characters. But for some reason, this particular one, the story of Derek Vineyard, a violent white supremacist who spends 3 years in prison for killing 2 black men and then tries to redeem himself, was one he didn't want to touch. To this day, why Joaquin Phoenix couldn't bring himself to play Derek Vineyard remains unclear. Maybe it was the racism, the violence, or just the weight of the message. Whatever it was, his refusal led the producers to search for a new lead actor who could handle the role's intensity. Number 16. American History. Ex-director didn't like the lead actor. Since Joaquin Phoenix turned down the role, the producers had to find another actor who was willing to take on the challenging part of Derek Vineyard. Eventually, they chose Edward Norton. Norton wasn't as big a name at the time as Phoenix, but the producers believed he had the talent and presence to portray the role powerfully. However, Tony Kaye wasn't pleased with the choice when he came on board as director. He didn't believe Edward Norton had the energy, fire, or raw intensity the role required. Kaye felt that someone else should have been cast, someone with a stronger physical presence and an unpredictable edge. Kaye was also pissed that the studio had cast Edward Norton without consulting him first. He felt he should have been involved in such a significant decision as the director. Kaye said he had a vision for the story. He had a specific idea for what each cast member was supposed to bring to the table. In an interview, Kaye stated that Edward was a fantastic actor, but he didn't have the physicality and anarchic emotion required for American History X. This was a rare and awkward situation, where a director openly stated he didn't want the lead actor. Kaye even began looking for a replacement. It was strange and frustrating, but many wondered, did a commercial and music video director like Kaye have enough experience to make that call in a serious feature film? As weird as it was, things would only get more intense from there. Number 15. A determined lead actor. Despite Tony Kaye's disapproval, Edward Norton remained in the film and went on to play Derek Vineyard. Reportedly, Kaye couldn't find a suitable replacement in time, and since the studio had already signed Edward, they had to move forward with him. This put Norton in a tough spot. He was already under pressure, and the director didn't want him to play the role. Everyone watched Norton's move on set closely, and any small mistake could be used against him. But Norton didn't let the director's doubt get to him. He was determined to prove he was one of Hollywood's best actors and prepared to embody the role. Norton increased his caloric intake to prepare and gained nearly 30 pounds of muscle. He wanted to bulk up and have the intimidating physique of a street-hardened neo-Nazi like Derek Vineyard, and he did it. Everyone was shocked by how fast he transformed his body. Edward Norton later shared that he met with Arnold Schwarzenegger before filming began and asked for advice on how to build muscle quickly. Arnold looked at his workout routine and told him to double it. Later, rumors came out that Schwarzenegger accused Edward of using steroids to get that big, but Norton denied ever using performance-enhancing drugs. But Norton's determination didn't stop there. He also shaved his head completely to mirror the real-life appearance of skinhead Frank Mink. Undoubtedly, Edward was serious about the role and ready to give it everything. Ultimately, Edward Norton embodied Derek Vineyard so convincingly that even Tony Kaye, who had doubted him from day one, admitted that he had done a great job. Number 14. The lead actor received half of his standard pay. Another extraordinary and weird fact about American History X is that its lead actor, Edward Norton, wasn't paid his full acting fee. At the time of production, Edward was already facing pushback from director Tony Kaye, who claimed that Norton lacked the necessary strength and presence to embody Derek Vineyard's role fully. Despite this, Norton was eager to play the part. He stood his ground and clarified that he was ready and willing to take on the role. And then, he did something nobody saw coming. Edward Norton slashed his standard acting fee from $1 million to $500,000. This was an unexpected but bold move. It revealed Edward Norton's commitment and love for the story. This sacrifice made the producers trust him even more. Eventually, this led to his official casting as Derek Vineyard. Number 13. The director almost left his job. Tony Kaye's first feature film as a director, American History X, was filled with intense moments that almost made him leave the job. This was due to continuous clashes with the cast, especially Edward Norton and Edward Furlong, who made Kaye feel less than a director as they challenged his decisions. This probably stemmed from the tension between him and Norton, especially after Kaye said he didn't want Edward to be the lead actor. Additionally, the fact that this was Kaye's first film makes it easy to see why things were shaky. Norton and Furlong changed the script during production without consulting the director. This drove Kaye crazy. He was the film's director, not just a bystander. This was a deviation from the original story he was called to direct. However, despite Kaye's threat to walk away, he stayed till the end of production. But then, something unexpected happened. Number 12. The producers rejected the director's final work. After filming ended, Tony Kaye submitted his final cut of the movie to New Line Cinema, but the producers weren't satisfied. Kaye described this version as a hard, fast, 95-minute rough diamond, raw but powerful. The studio conducted test screenings, and the results were satisfactory, but they believed the film had room for improvement. Edward Norton and the studio provided Kaye with detailed notes on what could be improved or added to the film, as they weren't pleased with the outcome. But Kaye didn't take the feedback well. He was angry and said the suggestions were unnecessary. He believed he did a good job that didn't need corrections. Kaye lashed out at the studio team, insisting that he make changes. At one point, the studio threatened to ban him from the editing room because he became confrontational. Eventually, a compromise was made. Kaye was given 8 more weeks to work on the final version, focusing on the areas they had flagged. But instead of taking that time, he told them it was impossible because he had already moved on to another film project. He claimed he needed a full year to complete a new cut. This shocked the studio. A whole year to re-edit? That wasn't an option. It sounded like a strange excuse or a delay tactic, but the problems didn't end there. Number 11. The lead actor, Edward Norton, edited the final cut of American History X. Now here's where it gets even weirder. Edward Norton, the same actor the director rejected, ended up editing the final cut of American History X. This felt like a slap in the face to Tony Kaye. But how did this happen? The studio lost patience after Kaye requested a year to re-edit the film. They gave Edward Norton the green light to step in and work on a new version of the film himself. Norton was paired with experienced assistant editor Jerry Greenberg. When Kaye heard about this, he was furious. In a fit of rage, he reportedly punched a wall, injuring his hand badly enough that it required stitches. Norton's new film cut was 18 minutes longer than Kaye's version. Kaye dismissed it, calling it a performance movie. In later interviews, he said Norton's filmmaking skills were less than nil. Kaye felt humiliated. He said he had been completely sidelined, his vision disrespected, and his work replaced. He blamed it on the fact that he was a first-time feature film director. However, he also stated that he deserved the same creative control and respect as directors like Stanley Kubrick, but the damage was done, and the wounds ran deep. Number 10. The director didn't want anything to do with the film. Tony Kaye was furious after the studio accepted Edward Norton and Jerry Greenberg's final cut. He said he didn't want to be part of the film anymore. He didn't want his name to appear anywhere on it. He asked New Line to delete his name entirely from the credits, but his request was not accepted. The studio had already locked in the credits and legally listed him as the director. So Kaye came up with something even stranger. He said if they wouldn't remove his name, they should replace it with Humpty Dumpty. It sounded like a joke, but Kaye was dead serious. His actions shocked the public. Why would a grown man want to be credited as Humpty Dumpty in a serious film like American History X? But Kaye didn't stop there. He attempted to legally change his name to Humpty Dumpty, solely to force the studio to list it that way. This was one of the weirdest things to ever happen behind the scenes of a major film. Many in Hollywood began to question whether Kaye was okay. Some even said bringing him on was a mistake. In the end, despite all the drama, Tony Kaye's real name remained in the credits. directed by Tony Kaye, still appeared at the end of American History X, but from then on, Kaye completely distanced himself from the movie. Whenever he spoke about it, he did so with bitterness and frustration. His debut as a feature film director had entirely gone off the rails. Number 9. Tony Kaye sued New Line Cinema. As the chaos dragged on, Tony Kaye remained angry about the studio's refusal to remove his name from the film. So, he took legal action. He sued New Line Cinema and the Directors Guild of America for $200 million in damages over the use of his name. But that wasn't all. Kaye launched a strange and noisy campaign to stop the film's release altogether. He took out full-page ads in major industry publications like Variety. The ads didn't always talk about the movie. Some took shots at Edward Norton and Michael DeLuca. Others quoted John Lennon lyrics or phrases from philosopher Edmund Burke that didn't connect to the situation. It made people wonder, what was Kaye trying to say? Some called him a genius, but many labeled him an overambitious first-time director who let his ego get in the way of everything. In the end, Kaye spent over $100,000 running around 40 ads in the Hollywood press, attacking New Line Cinema and the movie. New Line eventually called for a sit-down meeting, hoping to calm him down. When Kaye showed up, he didn't come alone. He brought a rabbi, a priest, and a monk. He wanted to bring spiritual clarity to the discussion. It was one of the most bizarre moments in the entire saga, but the meeting didn't change anything. Kaye kept pushing the lawsuit. Eventually, the court dismissed the case, but the damage had already been done. Kaye's outbursts and legal battles led to his financial collapse, and it took more than a decade before he released another feature film. Many people in Hollywood were also reluctant to work with him after his actions in American History X, his first major film. Number 8. American History X faced another lawsuit. Tony Kaye wasn't the only one who took legal action over the film. Surprisingly, American History X faced another lawsuit, this time from a neo-Nazi punk band called the Anti-Heroes. They filed a $25 million lawsuit against New Line Cinema for using their band's logo in the film. A skinhead character in the movie, the violently racist Seth, was shown wearing a tattoo of the band on his arm. This was strange and unexpected. In real life, the Anti-Heroes weren't racists. They were known for their anti-elitist music, not hate speech. When they saw their logo used in a film that associated them with white supremacy, they were shocked and angry. They didn't want to be tied to anything racist, fictional, or not. To them, that tattoo made them look like part of the hate movement, which they were never involved in. It was later revealed that the filmmakers had used the band logo without realizing its connection to a real group. The producers later admitted it was an oversight. They removed all references to the band and deleted the tattoo in future film releases. Many still wonder, was it a genuine mistake by the production team or something more deliberate? Either way, it was a weird and messy situation that added to the already chaotic legacy of American History X. Number 7. The screenplay was inspired by David McKenna's childhood experiences. David McKenna, the screenwriter of American History X, wrote this movie in his early 20s. Interestingly, the film was based on some of his childhood experiences growing up in San Diego during the rise of punk rock and skinhead culture in the 1980s and 90s. As a child, McKenna witnessed firsthand racial tensions and gang violence between Black, Latino, and Asian communities, especially in neighborhoods like Lincoln Park, Skyline, and Encanto. McKenna saw the territorial disputes between gangs and the strained relationships with law enforcement, which often involved racial profiling and harassment of young men of color. He used these experiences to create an outstanding story that reflects how environmental and social factors shape a man's ideas. One central message McKenna wanted to pass with the film was that no one is born racist. Instead, we learn hatred from the people around us, from our family, neighborhood, and society. That hate is taught, fed, and reinforced. McKenna believed that the family is where it often begins, and that's what he tried to show through Derek Vineyard's story. Number 6. The original ending of American History X was changed by the lead actor. Edward Norton changed the original ending of American History X because he felt it was weak. He felt the movie needed an ending that would satisfy the viewers and send a stronger message to the audience. In David McKenna's original script, Derek was supposed to end the movie staring into a mirror while shaving his head. This would mean that after everything, prison, loss, growth, Derek was going back to the white supremacist lifestyle. Skinheads, after all, shaved their heads as a symbol of their allegiance. This version of the ending sent a dark message that even after everything, people can't escape who they used to be. That hate always pulls them back. It was shocking, but it also risked undermining the film's core message that redemption is possible. It was also powerful. Norton believed this ending was necessary to show that while hate can destroy, change is still possible. Tony Kaye disagreed and wanted to keep the original version. However, the studio opted for Edward's version. Number 5. The rejected lead actor, Edward Norton, was nominated for an Oscar. It's almost unbelievable. The actor that Tony Kaye didn't want as the lead, Edward Norton, went on to receive an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor for his role in American History X. He was nominated alongside some of the biggest names in the industry at the time: Tom Hanks, Ian McKellen, Nick Nolte, and Roberto Benigni. It was a massive moment for someone who had to fight even to be taken seriously for the role. Remember, the director told Edward that he didn't have the presence, body, or intensity needed to play Derek Vineyard, but Edward was determined. He transformed his body, adding solid muscle mass. He shaved his head to match the skinhead look. He accepted just half his standard $1 million fee, taking $500,000 just to be in the movie. He also stepped in to rewrite scenes, including the ending. And when Tony Kaye left the editing room, Edward continued to work on the film's final cut to ensure it was ready for release. Edward Norton wasn't just acting but fighting for the film's success. And even though he didn't win the Oscar as Roberto Benigni did, Edward Norton's performance left a deep mark. It pushed him further into the spotlight and confirmed what many had initially doubted, that he was a force to be reckoned with. Number 4. Tony Kaye's directing career fell down the drain. His career suffered a blowback after Tony Kaye's explosive fallout with New Line Cinema. Tony Kaye's name became associated with conflict, unprofessionalism, and unpredictability in the Hollywood industry. This made no Hollywood producer want to work with him. American History X, which was supposed to be Kaye's proud moment as a debut feature film director, instead became the very project that derailed him. The movie, which premiered in October, received much well-deserved attention and praise for its powerful drama and unforgettable performances. But while the film succeeded, Kaye became the center of unnecessary controversy. He made headlines not for the film's success, but for the drama he caused, from attempting to remove his name from the credits to filing lawsuits and even changing his name to Humpty Dumpty legally. It was bizarre and made him appear unstable in the eyes of many in the industry. American History X was meant to be Kaye's launchpad, the big break that would push him from directing commercials and music videos to being recognized as a respected Hollywood filmmaker. However, it was ironic to see him become a punchline while the film was at the center of the spotlight. Kaye's Hollywood career was already sinking as the movie premiered and drew critical acclaim. After the premiere, Kaye appeared in interviews speaking passionately about how he had been sidelined in the film's final cut. But instead of gaining sympathy, it further fueled the narrative that he was too difficult to work with. After that ordeal, Kaye tried to redirect his energy into making a documentary about abortion in America. He also began working on Humpty Dumpty, a behind-the-scenes documentary about the making of American History X and what he claimed happened. But to date, the film remains unreleased. Tony Kaye was hired to direct Blackwater Transit, which was supposed to mark his return to Hollywood, but history repeated itself. Again, Kaye got into arguments with the producers over the final edit. The film was ultimately shelved, and producers described the final product as unreleasable due to the mess Kaye had made. Actors and crew members from Blackwater Transit reportedly described Kaye as a brilliant but complicated man. Unfortunately, his reputation stuck. Since then, no major studio has called him to direct another film. Most feared the same outcome, a half-finished project and a man wrapped in his chaos, just like what happened with American History X. Number 3. Hidden symbols within the movie. It was surprising to realize that American History X contained subtle yet powerful hidden symbols that many viewers missed on first viewing. What symbols were hidden in the movie? Let's find out. One of the most shocking hidden symbols was found on Seth's basketball jersey. Seth wore 88 on the back of his jersey, which seems like a random sports number at first glance, but it wasn't. In neo-Nazi code, the number 88 holds deep meaning. The number 8 stands for the 8th letter of the alphabet, H. So 88 becomes HH, abbreviation for Heil Hitler. It was a coded Nazi salute, cleverly disguised on a piece of furniture. It wasn't apparent to many viewers, but it was a message for those familiar with hate group symbols. The use of 88 in the film reminded us how hate can be hidden in plain sight, woven into everyday things without many people noticing. Notably, that's precisely what the filmmakers were trying to show, that racism isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, it's coded, it's wearing a jersey on a basketball court. What made it all more disturbing was how casually it was presented in the film, a small but powerful detail that revealed how deeply those ideologies ran in the characters' lives. It was a subtle touch, but one that sent a deafening message. Number 2. American History X is called one of the greatest movies of all time. When American History X was released, it grossed only $156,000 initially. The reception was lower than expected, possibly due to the sensitive themes the film tackled. However, it eventually made over $23 million worldwide, surpassing its $20 million budget. American History X didn't break major box office records. However, critics quickly offered glowing reviews, especially praising Edward Norton's performance. The critical reception was favorable, and most agreed that the movie told a powerful story of redemption, racism, and transformation. Although it didn't perform exceptionally well at the box office, it left an enduring legacy as a great piece of filmmaking. Number 1. The American History X director plans to release a director's cut of the film. Tony Kaye has hinted at plans to release a documentary called Humpty Dumpty X, which explores his feelings about everything that happened during the making of American History X. He has been working on it since around 2016, and a rough version was reportedly shown to a few people back in 2007. The version screened was approximately 30 minutes long, but Kaye has since suggested he plans to release it publicly at some point, although no exact date has been confirmed. While it seemed odd that he was still holding on to old grudges, what raised more eyebrows was his desire to release his own director's cut of the movie. Who knows what it would reveal? Which of these weird facts on American History X did you find most fascinating? Let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and check out the following video on your screen now. You will like it.